Hello, world. Frida Reba Darcy and Patricia O'Connor here. I think this is moving in the house. And today on the Bonsai Balcony, we are going to have a look. Let's just have a little look and see how everybody's doing. Good. I turned that around. It looks very dramatic seeing the other side of it that I haven't been seeing for a while. What you're looking at there, 26 Japanese black pine seedlings. We've done a little bit of rearranging. Those got brought in from the kitchen. Those are no longer under fluorescent light. My kitchen is no longer hatching seedlings. We're going to call that our run. We have a few empty pots, like 9 or so, 10 maybe. They can feel free to pop forth with a tree at any minute. Just because we're bringing them out here doesn't mean they have to give up. But today we're going to talk about pines. And while we're talking about pines, it's a good time for me to talk about pines because I think right now everybody is it's looking pretty good, as far as that's concerned. I'm still waiting on my Konoha maples to bud out, and I'm still waiting on my coastal redwood and kind of wondering, kind of knocking on the door going, hey, what's going on in there? But when it comes to our pines, I have 2 species of pine tree here, and they are both doing, and both species are doing great guns. When I first got into bonsai, I started scouring the internet for information about what was easy trees for beginners, and I just started massively trying to watch videos and upload information and just really try to exercise the old noodle about what was it that we loved and what was it we wanted to be more attracted towards, and all of that good stuff when it came to bonsai. And one thing that kept coming up was that certain species, if you can just water them, and I decided that I was going to be the type of bonsai caregiver that wasn't going to be distracted a single day from our trees, that me or someone would always be here and be. So far, that has always been me in 3 years. But that's nothing to really brag about. That's the minimum, to be there to make sure that your trees that are in a restricted environment get all the water that they need, because that's going to be supplied by you because you put them or keeping them in that restricted environment. And the thing you hear going in is that oaks are pretty easy if you can keep them watered. Cypresses are pretty easy when you keep them watered. You start finding out that maples are not hard to keep alive, but there are quite a few steps in keeping them to make them look the way they can look as really, really well-disciplined, beautiful trees. And sort of the same with pines. There's a whole... You don't necessarily have to work on pines all the time, but there's a couple of times a year where you have a few steps to do. And if you have a lot of pines, that few steps can be a lot of a few steps. So you kind of get told maybe not to do pines right at the first. You might get told not to do little trees right at the first. And that's, that kind of gears you up to be intimidated. And at the same time, whenever something intimidates me, I always kind of get a funny feeling that maybe I dig it a little bit. In the past, one of the first signs that I'm kind of a little gaga over somebody is when I notice that they make me nervous. So the idea of pines, I suppose, made me nervous, and I had to come to terms with the fact that I was probably falling in love with pine trees as I show you this. This is our coastal oak. I told you guys the next time you saw it, it would be turned around. And I turned it around, and we've still got some work to do here. Back to my conversation about pines. I learned early that oaks would be a good first choice for me. I learned early that both cypress would equally be a good choice for me. And I learned early that wisterias would be a good choice that will also bloom once or twice a year if you pick them right. So that's all really cool. But the part where I was told maybe hold back on the pines, or maybe where I got that impression that I should hold back on the pines, kind of had a reverse effect and kind of made me start looking at them. And whenever I saw somebody's beautiful pine, I was just like envious. And I was envious of what I didn't know too. So I wanted to know more, and I wanted to get a few of these. And one thing I thought that I would do is I would just put myself under enormous pressure by trying to acquire a tree out of my league. At that time, I had some pretty impressive trunks that I thought needed work, like log. I'm not pointing at my cypress tree, but like log back there. Didn't have a lot of ramification, but that base and that nabari and all that I was very impressed with. So I thought that wouldn't be, that would be something that even as a beginner I can get to bring along. Whereas, say that literati style Japanese black pine, I bought that after that is the benefit of someone else's work. Same with this. Same with this 20 year from seed. That is the benefit of Jonas Dupuy's. That's his 20 year from seed. It's my tree now. Having shelled out. I voted that I loved that tree, and my vote was my cash money. And, at some point, it's like you've got a lot of starter trees and stuff, and somebody will say, get yourself one nice tree. Get yourself one nice tree. Give yourself something to aspire to. So I did that. And then a couple of years later, I did that too. This is a cork bark. This wasn't probably the right choice for me because there's a lot of stuff that I want to learn to do to pine trees that I'm not supposed to be doing to an elderly cork bark. So that probably wasn't my best first move, but I'm not really unhappy with it. I absolutely consider that to be one of our flagship trees and love it dearly. This guy gave me reason to worry. It also gave me reason to learn. It's like try to figure out what to do before it needs something. And when I got it, it was so intimidating. The main thing it taught me is it needs nothing. Don't touch it. I mean, you're an amateur. This thing is already a pro on its own. You can't improve anything right now. So hands off of that for a little bit too long, and then you start learning what happens when you don't do candles and you don't do needle thinning, and then you turn around and you do candles and needle thinning, and then you do it too much. So I'm learning all of my lessons, but the tree is teaching us all of our lessons, and it is a beautiful, beautiful addition. So the back side of that, or the other side of that, since then we've accumulated other monster, gorgeous pine trees because I'm less intimidated by them now. We also had one that we thought was not a really pretty tree. And because we didn't think it was a pretty tree, and because somebody else didn't think it was a pretty tree, they gave it away. And when they gave it to me, I went, yeah, I'm just starting to learn about Japanese black pines. And at first, this little guy looked greener and healthier than the black pines that I was more excited about. There for a long time, this little tree, for a moment, was greener than this one and this one. And that really had me worried. I basically rescued that one from the dumpster. These I shelled out for because I thought they were beautiful and I loved them and I wanted to bring them home. And when they didn't look so good, I didn't know why, and it worried me. And that's really stressful. Come to find out, Japanese black pines do that in winter. And when I went to Google and when I went to YouTube and started saying, why are my pines yellow? And the answer came back in winter. They almost never talked about that in relation to Japanese black pine, they always go, if you look at this yellow, if you look at this white pine, or if you look at this loblolly, or if you look at this, and I was going, I have black pines and y'all aren't saying anything about them. Is the same thing hold true? I learned better, but I never heard better. And yes, pines yellow in the winter. They go dormant, and they don't. Their hormonal allocation is completely different. Every little thing that a young, healthy, robust needle went through all summer that you couldn't even see, you will see later in the winter when its resources are its defenses are down. All those little scars begin to show. All those little nicks become lines or something. So how do you get started, and how do you learn pines? I did a show the other day about watering, and we talked about the dipstick method and how I got tuned up on see, that's exactly what I'm talking about. My ability to balance the water on these two guys made them look yellower, and my haphazard attitude about the one that I cared less about. I mean, I loved it as a living thing, but I thought it was kind of a fugly tree at the time. So when it was doing better than the ones I cared for, I had to go, you're watering this one less because you're worried about it less, and it's doing better because of that. I mean, we had to do our own little cause and effect. So that's where the weenie skewers came in. That's where the getting a better understanding of what's going on in the center and the bottom of the pot. Also, I think I've touched on this a couple of times. If you decide at some point that you want to dam the torpedoes, or maybe the intimidation got to you too, and you're thinking that you would like to try pine trees, if you get one pine tree, you will just overly focus on that tree, and that is rarely good. Rarely does somebody have one truly magnificent bonsai tree and none other. That's something that having a whole bunch of trees will cause a person to have exceptional trees and trees that are on their way to being exceptional, and that may always be a slightly shifting hierarchy, right? But I don't think you'll ever find somebody that has one truly magnificent bonsai tree and that's the only tree they have. Focusing your attention solely on something like that tends more often than not to not go well. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at what I just brought out from the kitchen this morning. This is 26 Japanese black pine seedlings. 26 out of 36. We still have room for 10 more asserted through here to come up. I decided early on that instead of living or dying by my 1 or 2 pine trees and seeing how they were doing, 3, simply pea, the cork bark, Japanese black pine, and the 20-year from seed. That was a lot of pressure on somebody who was trying to learn pines, but that also meant that I was choking on it. I was trying to just take in information fast. If I sat down on the couch and felt like I was about to fall asleep, I would turn on a Japanese black pine video instead. And I was just really, really, really gung-ho about trying to learn. So the message about getting more of them rang loud and clear. So the first thing I did was we bought 10. And I found that my ability to keep them watered, or my ability to hone in what was good watering and what was not good watering, increased really quickly once I had 10 trees to look at instead of 3. And things just started looking up after that. After that, we enjoyed folding and bending those 10 trees. That was last year. So off and on last year. Come on, focus, focus, focus. I'm going to assume that's in focus. It's not on my screen, but sometimes by the time they go into production, they pull focus on what we want. We made this last year. We bought it as one of 10. Came from upstate. It was super healthy. We wired it, we twisted it and folded it like a circus balloon animal. And we potted it up in one of Elizabeth Crutenden's beautiful unglazed pot. This thing is going on its second year as a tree and as a bonsai. And it's already doing it's already doing things that we really like. And we're starting to see our new buds, which are going to be our first right and left and back branch. So times all the others. We got 10 out of those, and we got 10 or 11 good shows about how I learned how I wanted to fold pines with these. That didn't cost very much to order. With shipping, I had less than $60 and 10 seedlings that came without pots, but they were super, super healthy, and pots are cheap. So we didn't have a problem with that. A big bag of perlite, a lifetime supply of perlite, and some pots from the dumpster at the local Home Depot, or in this case, I got them from the greenhouse that I work at the hardware store. And we were off in business. Those I didn't purchase, at least not as seedlings. Once we bent up all of our 10 trees, I was really encouraged about everything that those 10 trees taught me: watering, taught me feeding, taught me wiring, and taught me my style of folding. I discovered a way of folding trees that I especially like. Now, it will always be a part of me. Either one, I will look back on those years and go, "Jolly, I can't believe," like a bad haircut that you look back on years later. Maybe I'll look back on those and go, "I can't believe I was so into that Cheerio thing. That's embarrassing now." But I don't think so. I see other people doing that, and other people who are doing that who have been at it longer than me. I didn't invent that. I just called it Cheerios because that's what they remind me of in the United States when I do them. And doing them to this tiny size trees. But the results of those later, whenever they get fat and stuff, is always, like I just showed you. So what we're looking at here is our next 26. And what we were looking at over there was our first 43. So far, I have planted and sprouted 69 little Japanese black pines. And I say that knowing full well that we fed our first round to some ravenous doves last spring. I instead of popping them in the kitchen, I popped these. I popped a tray of them out in the rail here, and they loved the rooted seedlings. They wouldn't take the green part, but they would cut them in half with their beaks and then eat the roots. They love the shoots. So that was probably 100 trees. Where did I get those? I got those seeds from social media. I went to social media, and there was a site on one of the social media sites that was about bonsai tree auctions. And a person on there would from time to time, or constantly actually, which was a good thing, would sell seeds. They would sell seeds for various species of bonsai, maples, several species of pine, I think cherry maybe, I'd seen other stuff, but they were very reasonable. And by my count, that's probably 150 left of about 250 seeds that I believe that I purchased from that site. They were $17 to the door. He took the shipper took 2 pieces of cardboard, put a little square of wood in between them, and these seeds are in a Ziploc bag inside this tube. They didn't come to me in that tube. That's what I put them in. And so they were in that Ziploc bag was laid in between those pieces of wood so that no matter what kind of conveyor belt or whatever the postal system had, they weren't going to go crushing any seeds or squishing anything. So they come to us in very, very smartly shipped really quick. I just went to PayPal, saw the notice for the bill for $17, paid it, and then like 3 or 4 days later, bam, there they are. And we're off to the races. That was less than $18, and so far, right now we're holding 69 Japanese black pines as a direct result of it. Just so easy. There I planted 36 seeds. We are currently at 26. If, like I said earlier, with that other 10 want to pop up, I'm still watering them. I'm still watering their empty holes just to make sure. But nothing's easier than that. What is that? $17 divided by, that's less than, that's a couple of trees, a penny, I believe. And we still have 150 to go or more. So you get that going, you have plenty of material to learn with. And how much space is that? That's not that much space. That could be a window box, right? So could these. I might point out that last year we started wiring our first 10, like this guy. This guy was smaller. Yeah, this guy was smaller than that guy when we wired it. So, yeah, pine trees. These are my ponderosas. This is a little ponderosa that we just potted up last night. Cool. I am covering up all the best parts. I can't help it. I think that is a fabulous little tree and a wonderful addition to our potted up bonsai trees. Here's one that we potted up about a month or so ago and hasn't missed the lick. It also looks very happy and is doing really well. And I didn't turn that bud up. It's reaching for the sky, which made me wonder if I could make those kind of pigtail by constantly rotating the trees. Nah, we just do that with wire. Okay, that's a pretty good. What I would say about pines is to order yourself a tray of 10 of them, and then put them in your window box or put them in your windowsill. Put them on your balcony or put them on your handrail or put them under a fluorescent light in your kitchen if you need to. You won't be able to get away with that long. I doubt if these guys at this height, I don't know that they would have lived in my kitchen as well as I just popped seedlings in there. I'm not a big advocate of indoor bonsai, although I am thinking that instead of putting my Chinese wisteria back there on that back row, that I will put something easier to water back there on the back row, and I might bring that wisteria leave that wisteria where it currently is. It could be an indoor tree. It still gets ambient light a little every day. It still gets our grow lights there, and wisteria can be indoor bonsai. So if you're one of those people who believes in indoor bonsai, that is listed as one. But in regards to the pines, they're not as intimidating as what people say. I can't stress enough, start off with a bunch of inexpensive material, and as a conscientious person, you're going to have enough pressure. You're going to know that if you don't water things, you're going to suffer and die. So, you wouldn't allow that to happen. It doesn't need to be $1 million thing for you to feel the pressure to get it right. And we went from not really knowing anything to then seeing the things that we felt less pressure about was doing better than the things we did care about more. And then we kind of evaluated how that was working and why. And that was a good lesson. And since then, we've moved on to other species and higher learning. I mean, I'm not going to take credit for that. And what I'm showing you when I say that is the graphs that are on that ponderosa. I didn't do that, but I did know that that was a way to go. And I am the person behind the wheel going, yeah, we're going to graft this tree. We're going to acclimate this tree to our Bay Area living. Yeah. Here's your Ray-Bans and a cool drink with an umbrella in it. Welcome to the Bay. Beautiful day today. People are out enjoying the good stuff. Burn those calories, young gun. Like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. Tonight, Saturday night, we will do a Saturday night live broadcast. And those are always a hoot. Yeah, she said a hoot. And I want you to know that I appreciate you. And Frida appreciates you. And thank you so much for watching.